So you want to sell insurance over the phone successfully, and you're looking for some advice to get you the best results. I've got 5 strange but helpful tips that'll help you get more results as you call on your leads to sell them insurance, no matter what kind of insurance you sell. And let's jump right in. So the number one thing I want to start off with today is ditching Zoom and just picking the phone up and calling. So ever since coronavirus and the government shutdowns happened, the trend really in business entirely has been to do more remote work. The insurance business is no different. But a lot of agencies made the shift over the years that we're normally doing face-to-face into a remote world and kind of forced into it. And many of them adopted the Zoom methodology or Zoom approach to selling insurance, which requires the person to turn on their camera, to be physically present. And many of these systems require you to set up an appointment ahead of time to then call back and do the Zoom appointment. My approach to that is to just skip out on the Zoom call entirely. There's a lot of issues I hear from especially mortgage protection agents and those agents who are targeting those under 50 years old, that the Zoom strategy approach causes a lot of issues with no-shows at a higher rate. People aren't as compliant with the process. You got to actually set an appointment with these people and then call them back. So bottom line, what a lot of agents have complained about, have been in the business for a long time, is that the Zoom strategy just isn't as effective as just showing up in person. And so my response to this is, if you absolutely require yourself to sell in a remote fashion, why don't you just pick up the phone and talk to people? Here's a couple of reasons why. Number one, you don't need to call back and do an appointment. If you got somebody on the phone and they're having a conversation with you, guess what? You're in a presentation. So that cuts down completely on the no-show rates. It allows you to sell them right on the spot, which means you're going to have more completed presentations and ideally more closed deals. So the number one reason I think I'm against, not necessarily against Zoom, but more in favor of just calling and selling over the phone, it's just a simpler process. Some people don't want to be on camera. Some people think that's a little weird. So just talk to them on the phone. Most people know how to do that. And try to sell that way and remove an unnecessary extra step that causes you to lose prospects. Number 2 on the list is don't pitch, pre-qualify. So here's the thing, guys. When you pick up the phone and you're selling, or you're selling over Zoom, or whatever kind of remote work you're doing to get people to buy insurance, remember, this isn't a sales pitch, okay? It can be a sales pitch, but what you'll likely have happen is more people not actually want to listen to you, who will mentally check out and not do business with you because they simply don't trust salespeople. So what's the solution? You need to qualify your prospects well in advance. Qualifying means that you figure out if the client is actually eligible to buy and is a good fit for you as a client earlier on in the sales presentation than just doing an entire pitch without any consideration to the needs or desires of the client, wasting a ton of your time and their time and not really arriving at a conclusion. What I have found in the many years we've done telesales, remote sales, and face-to-face sales is pre-qualifying earlier on in the sales presentation is an easier process than selling. Your prospects won't look at you as a salesman. They'll look at you as an advisor, somebody they can trust, somebody that can guide them to good decisions. So when you pre-qualify, some things I would recommend you to ask selling, different types of insurance. It's going to vary by what you sell, but for example, some life insurance products. So what were your thoughts, concerns when you requested this information? This gets them telling you their why. Or perhaps you ask, what are you doing right now for your existing life insurance? This allows you to understand who the incumbent is, if there is any. And then if there isn't, it allows you to position a disturbing question, which is, God forbid, if you died tomorrow, what would happen? You press down on that client in a difficult, cringy decision or cringy position for them to try to describe how bad it would be if they died, if they didn't have coverage, and how their family would manage. All of which helps you sell the urgency and the desire that much more. So bottom line, there's a lot of different pre-qualification questions like what we teach our final expense and Medicare, ACA, and annuity agents at DeFord Insurance Group. But this is just a small sampling. But think about your presentation. Qualify earlier. Don't pitch, because qualification and education especially sells insurance more than just a plain old boring and high pressure pitch. Number 3 on the list here, do you want a policy or not? So this is one of our strategies we're implementing on the final expense side as we do live transfers, as we start to talk to prospects. We get in many of these leads that we receive, whether they're television leads or live transfer leads, what's called a buffer. We get 30 seconds to 120 seconds, depending on the lead, to qualify if that client is a good prospect or not. Somebody could be just calling in to waste time, or they're lonely and old and they want to talk to a salesperson. That happens in this business. And that qualification buffer time allows us to dump those prospects that really there isn't any opportunity for. So what I've been testing here, and we've been seeing some results, is rephrasing some of the questions earlier on in the qualifications process and starting the phone call to figure out right away, Mr. Prospect, are you actually calling in to see if you can get a policy or not? Because based on that answer, you're going to get people who are mostly in that camp or mostly not in that camp. And therefore, what you can do is save a lot of money on bogus live transfers and really just spend your time with those prospects who express interest right away. Number 4 on the list here is forget the spouse. So this is a big one. So a lot of remote agents think that they've got to sell both spouses in the house in order to close a final expense, life insurance, whatever type of deal. This is not the case, because here's the thing: when you're calling on the phone or you're doing a remote call, your first call is the last call. Your first try is the last try, and you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So my advice to you is, when you're calling and you're doing a live transfer, you're calling outbound, you're trying to close an insurance sale, don't do what the typical training says and wait for the spouse to come home and then call back. There ain't no callbacks in this business, especially in remote insurance telesales. Instead, go ahead and pitch that person. Understand you're going to have to deal with some pushback, but get them closed first, because that's the opportunity presented right in front of you. And also sell that you'll go back to these people and then continue to help them out, their other spouse, and get them closed. And last but not least, please stop with your tech obsession. So I guess I'm showing my age. I'm 38. I kind of grew up in that weird time where we were just getting blocked cell phones and we didn't have Facebook, and we grew up kind of like normal Americans did for hundreds of years. And tech was kind of a tool, but it wasn't like the requirement to live. But what I see a lot nowadays in agents that come aboard with me, or certainly those who ask me questions, which I'm most appreciative of course, is that what kind of CRMs do they need? What kind of automation sequences? What do I say in a text message? What do I do with this or that? What tech is going to make me successful, in other words? Here's the thing: tech assists. It doesn't replace you. 95%, if not more, of the work required to close comes from you, the insurance agent. Look at it this way: we live in a technical world where there's advanced technology, automation, many organizations, industries getting upended caused from technology removing the need for them. But the insurance business is practically the same. The way business is done is by working with real-life human beings who go out in front of prospects, ask them for an appointment, and then convince and close them on the deal. That fundamentally has not changed, and I will state probably never will to a large degree. So if all of this is said, if tech is replaced in many of these industries, the need for a salesperson, why hasn't that happened in the insurance business? Because people want to deal with people when it comes to insurance. There's so many questions, concerns, issues, worries when it comes to picking the right insurance plan, that having somebody who knows what they're talking about and will give them the time of day is the way to differentiate and make that person, help them at least, come to the decision of buying. So where I'm going with this, guys, is that's what this business is still about. Tech helps to a certain extent, maybe convert a little bit more or convert more calls into presentations, but the bulk of what matters still is what you bring to the table, and connecting with that prospect, educating them on the pros and the cons of what's out there, and convincing them to buy from you. And tech doesn't replace that. It never will. So if you spend your time, and you only have so much bandwidth a day to study and practice and prepare, spend that time on being the best agent that you can, that you live to serve your clients and help them out. So these are my 5 strange but helpful tips that will get you more success selling insurance remotely, whether over the phone, Zoom, what have you. And if you're interested in joining an insurance agency that supports remote sales, at least when it comes to final expense, Medicare, and ACA under 65 health insurance. We can do that. We recruit agents nationally, remotely, to sell from their homes, telesales mostly. And if you'd like to learn more about how that works, go to davidduford.com/FAQ. Watch the video, then you'll see from what to do to learn more about our sales and marketing systems that are available to agents like you to be a part of enjoying. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.